our brain seeks coherence. Our brain needs us to behave in a way that's congruent with what it believes about ourselves. So if I believe that I'm lazy, not athletic, I have no willpower, I have no discipline, my brain is going to do everything that it can to make me behave in that way. And so those beliefs really become limiting and hold us back.
Welcome to Talkin' Shit, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together, the perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin' Shit. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Talkin' Shit podcast, everyone. I am so excited. Rebecca is back with us. Now, Rebecca first recorded with me a couple months ago, and we explored this idea of the type A versus type B eaters. And there were so many of you that reached out and said, oh my gosh, it was like you understand my life. So I reached out to Rebecca and said, can we do another one? Because I love her approach. I love everything that she stands for and how she supports her clients. So Rebecca, thank you so much for being willing to give more of your time, energy, and expertise to us.
Thanks so much for having me back. I really enjoyed our last conversation, and I'm looking forward to today and hopefully bringing more wisdom and insights to your clients.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so we were talking before we started recording, and you said something pretty powerful, and I think something that many women will resonate there tuning in of if you have tried everything and nothing works. So you work with a lot of individuals that come into you and say, I've literally tried every diet out there and nothing works. So tell us more about that. Ready to lose weight, feel in control around food, and build a lifestyle that actually lasts? The Healthy Body Collective is my monthly coaching community where you get expert guidance from me, Jana, live coaching, real accountability, and a supportive group of women who actually get it. You can click the link in the show notes to join now. See you inside.
Yeah. So my area of expertise, as I shared last time, is really about sustainable weight loss. And so I tend to get the clients who have tried everything. I'm like the last resort. And so they've tried keto, they've tried intermittent fasting, they've tried Weight Watchers, they tried, Atkins back in the day, and they've been on this roller coaster of on and off for as long as they can remember. And they're frustrated, and rightfully so, because they're not getting the results that they want. And it's not because they're not putting in the effort, because they are. And so they're at the place where they're really starting to believe that something is wrong with them, and that it is not possible for them to see the results that they want.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say you focus on sustainable weight loss? Because, don't we just want to lose weight? Like, why do we want that sustainable part of the equation?
Well, for my purview, I want to help people have a healthier lifestyle for the duration. To me, there's really no value in helping someone with short-term weight loss. Helping them create a plan that they can only do for a short period of time. Like, where's the value in that, right? Because that's just going to put them back in the same cycle that they've been in. And so I want to teach my clients how to implement and maintain habits that they can do successfully for the long term so that they can get off the roller coaster and the on again, off again. Because not only is that bad for our health, but it's really bad for our psyche. It damages our mental health when we have some success and then we fall back into old patterns. We start to internalize those things and we believe that there's something wrong with us. Yeah.
And I hear so many women internalize these inaccurate narratives, right? Like you just said, like, there's something wrong with me. My body there's something broken in my body, right? I'm a failure. I'm lazy. I'm not motivated. I'm not disciplined. Those are all that's the internal dialogue that's really starts to build. And what I'm hearing you say is that that's not accurate, actually.
No, not at all. And the problem with that is that our brain seeks coherence. Our brain needs us to behave in a way that's congruent with what it believes about ourselves. So if I believe that I'm lazy, not athletic, I have no willpower, I have no discipline, my brain is going to do everything that it can to make me behave in that way. And so those beliefs really become limiting and hold us back. So it's not that we can't be successful. It's that we're implementing strategies that are not addressing the real issue.
So for someone that's like struggled with their weight the majority of their life, which I recently read a stat that most women spend at least 17 years trying to change their body. And I thought, actually, I think that's pretty low. Just based on some of the women that I've worked with, they've said for 20, 30, 40 years, I've been trying to lose the weight or look this way or whatnot. But so if we were to actually address like the real thing, what would we start having conversations around?
Mm-hmm. So when I start working with a client, one of the first things I ask them is, what is your biggest challenge? So some of the things that they say to me are, I'm lazy. I have no willpower. I have no discipline. I'm addicted to food. I have cravings for unhealthy foods. I have a lot of food noise. I live alone and it's not worth it to cook for myself. I have a family and they don't want to eat how I want to eat. I eat portions that are in excess of my needs. I don't meal plan. I mindlessly eat. I boredom eat. I emotionally eat. All these things. And so as dietitians, what are we trained to do? We're trained to prescribe a way of eating. Mm-hmm. And that is not going to work, because if those are the things that we're facing, that those are our challenges, no meal plan, no new diet, no new exercise routine, no supplement is going to help us long term, because it would be like breaking your ankle and putting a cast on your arm and wondering why your ankle is not getting better. You're not addressing the real underlying challenge. And that's why people continue to struggle. And so it's not a personal failing. It's not that they're weak. It's not that they're undisciplined. It's not that they don't have willpower. It's that they're not employing the right strategy for their unique challenge.
Yes. I say this often. Most people nowadays know that an apple is a healthier option than a bag of chips. And I believe that most women in particular know that, right? Like, actually, if you have spent years dieting, you probably know how to calorie count better than I do. And so I don't want to give you information that you already know. That's so dismissive of you as a person. So we have to get to the root cause, because yes, you might know that and you should reach for an apple versus a bag of chips if you're trying to lose weight. But if you are emotionally eating, we actually have to deal with that versus the food. Is that what I'm hearing then?
That is exactly right. And so if you were to look at my client notes, you would not see calorie prescriptions or notes indicating conversations about macronutrient contents of foods and that sort of thing, because that is not what people need. People do not need more information. They need strategies for how to put that information and that knowledge into place consistently. Mm-hmm. And that is the difference. When we can work with ourselves and we can master ourselves and get clear on the challenge that we're facing, that's when we start to see success.
So this is actually a very humbling journey. So a lot of women, for me, they'll start crying, and it's almost like a release of like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, one. And then two, like, how the hell do I do this? Right? Like, this is scary, because food has kind of been the scapegoat for a lot of things that we haven't wanted to address potentially. And so if we continue struggling with food and we can't seem to, and I'm air quoting, fix it, that's where we want to dive in and create those strategies that are going to really be able to support the individual to live their healthiest, most confident, strongest life possible, that maybe have nothing to do with food. So like, can you give me an example of one of those things where you're not telling them, oh, you should eat this or do that, but you're helping create those strategies for that sustainable weight loss?
Mm-hmm. So I have an example that just happened recently. So one of the exercises that I often have my clients do is to map their habit loops. So every habit that we do follows a specific pattern. There's a cue that drives the behavior, and then there's the reward. So our brains like habit because it saves energy, right? Like if we had to think about every action that we did all the time, like we wouldn't survive because it would take an inordinate amount of energy. And so our brain automates things so we can do things easier and more efficiently. And when we engage in a behavior that produces instant gratification, our brain produces dopamine. And dopamine people often think of as the feel-good hormone. But what dopamine does is it actually reinforces learning and commits behavior to memory. So for example, I'm feeling sad. I eat chocolate cake. I feel better. So next time I'm sad, my brain's going to say, oh, feeling sad, eat cake, feel better, right? And this becomes our pattern. And then we get into this like mindless eating cycle. So how do we break that cycle? Curiosity. It's not about telling myself, well, next time I feel sad, I'm not going to eat the cake, or I shouldn't eat the cake, or now I ate the cake and I'm going to beat myself up about eating the cake, because that gets into this power struggle where part of me wants the cake, but part of me doesn't, right? But if we can use curiosity to naturally pay attention, what we realize is the cake isn't really making me feel better, or maybe a bite or two of cake is all I need. And so when we start practicing that curiosity, we will naturally start to shift our behavior. So I had an experience. I had a client recently who was practicing mapping her habit loops. And she was sitting on the couch watching TV, bored, flipping through the channels. And she decided, oh, I'm going to go find a snack. And so she goes in the kitchen and she decides to make some popcorn. And she's like paying attention to how she's eating the popcorn. And she gets partway through eating the popcorn and she realizes, I've had my fill. Like I'm satisfied. I don't really want to eat the rest. And she put the popcorn back. Now, in the past, what she would have done is eaten the whole bag and then beat herself up about the fact that she ate the whole bag, right? Because she was trying to force herself to change. But by using curiosity, she was able to realize, I'm actually quite satisfied now. And then there was like no power struggle. And so when we're getting into like boredom eating, like that's one of the best things we can do. It's just to start paying attention to what's going on. And we'll naturally start to change. But that's a practice. And it's something we have to commit to practice. And it's not about being successful or not, or pass, fail. It's about just being willing to pay attention and be curious.
I love that because it brings in not only curiosity, but it brings in intentionality and awareness and probably some compassion in it process too. And often I tell my clients, like, I don't need you to change the habit. I just need you to become aware of it at this point, right? Because we're not aware of what those habits are, or even what that, say, trigger is that gets us to do a certain thing. And so by mapping those habits, now you become aware and then you get to choose versus it be your default.
Correct.
Choice is powerful.
Correct. And a lot easier because it's much easier to do something you want to do rather than something you feel like you should do.
Right. Which then we get into like the emotions of like guilt and shame. And anytime those are present, they're like that behavior is not going to change.
Correct. And what do guilt and shame often do? Makes us feel bad. So what do? We eat to feel better.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And then
we're back in that cycle.
Yeah. So now we've moved to the choice aspect. Now, is there a general, like, could we say how long that usually takes, or like, are you able, like, so one of the pushbacks that people will share with me of like, this is so much slower than like, I want to lose weight now. I want to like, and I'm like, I certainly understand, but would you rather spend 17 years or 6 months? You know? Like, I mean, from a time perspective, let's take a look at that. But like, how do you respond with like when there's urgency or when there's concern for health, or right? Like there's so many variables that go into our weight and our desire to change our weight. But how do you kind of quantify that for the individual?
Well, what they've done up to this point isn't working. Right? And
yes,
like what actually feels worse? I think it feels worse to have some success and then revert back to your old patterns.
Yeah.
And so if the choice is, I'll give you a meal plan and you can lose 10 pounds in the next 2 months, and then you'll regain it and probably more, or you can spend 6 months or a year working on skills that are going to not only help you lose weight, but it's going to help you maintain the healthier weight for the duration. And it's going to be naturally easy for you to make choices that align with your long-term goals instead of being on this power struggle of I'm on, I'm off, I'm guilty, I'm shameful, all of the mental stuff that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like the choice is clear.
Yeah.
There's more work up front, yes, but the rewards are a lot greater. And not only are the rewards greater, but the rewards are actually what people are seeking. Because when I also, so as I mentioned, 95% of my clients find me because they want to lose weight, right? If you look at my website, it's all about weight loss. And if they dial up on the Google, weight loss near me, they're going to find me. And so that's what gets them in the door. But when I ask them what it is that they want, they rarely say weight loss. They say things like, I want a better relationship with food. I want to feel more in control of my eating. I want to be more intentional with my eating. I want to be able to enjoy a piece of cake or some ice cream or some chips without feeling guilty and shameful about it. Like, that's really what people want. The number on the scale and like what they see in the mirror is kind of like the icing on the cake, but it's not really the primary motivator.
Mm-hmm. So I will say, Rebecca, like, this is very counterculture.
What can I say? I'm radical.
Like, so there has to be, I'm assuming just because I experienced the same thing, but there has to be, I remember one of my coaching clients, we're around like a year and a half right now, and she's done fantastic. Like, she's just literally recreated her life. It's so beautiful to see. Mm-hmm. But she told me, she goes, Jana, this is such a hard sale. Like, what I thought I needed was nothing close to what I actually needed. Mm-hmm. And so it's, especially when you have like, outside pressures too, like your doctor tells you like, oh, well, just lose weight and it will fix everything. Or you have a parent. I mean, for women, typically it's the mother figure that's like, oh, are you going to eat that? Like, there's so much generational trauma, frankly, that goes into the eating experience. So how do you like convince someone that this is actually the like path to freedom?
So number one is they have to get clear on what it is they want. Because again, it's not just about weight loss. It's about being the type of person that you want to be and having the kind of life that you want to lead. And those things are very different. And so oftentimes people don't really think about that, right? Like, if you ask somebody what it is they want, oftentimes they'll tell you what they don't want. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be tired anymore. I don't want to have a hard time getting up and down the stairs. I don't want to look in the mirror and not like what I see. I don't want to feel so guilty and ashamed about what I'm eating. But our brains can't think in terms of don't. For anyone who has kids who have told them not to slam the door, what do the kids do? They slam the door, right? You're like, don't slam the door. And they just keep slamming the door. If you want them to not slam the door, you have to say, please close the door quietly. Because our brain doesn't think in negatives. And so the first thing is, people have to spend some time thinking about, like, what is it that I want for my life, and what do I value and what's important to me? And they need to paint a picture of the future self that they desire. And so weight isn't really ever a part of that for anyone that I've met. It includes things like, I want to be someone who's active and joyful, who pursues new experiences, who nourishes her body with healthy foods, but who can also enjoy cake at a party without it derailing her. And I want to be someone who like pursues goals and achievement and who experiences life to the fullest. Like, that's where the behaviors fit into. It's not just about losing weight. And so we have to tie it to something bigger. And we also have to get clear about what are the things that we value most.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like value-based coaching, like just
correct.
And really being given the space to identify those values outside of thin.
Yeah. And it's important to recognize that our values are not what we do. Our values are not what we say, they're what we do. And so if I were to follow you around with a hidden camera all day long, would I know by your actions what you value?
Ooh, that would be so interesting.
And so many people will say, I value this and I value that. But if you follow them around, what you see them doing is completely contradictory to what they say they value. The other thing about values is we have to apply them consistently. So, for example, kindness. If I'm someone who values kindness, it doesn't mean I'm kind to other people, but then I treat myself poorly. It means I uphold that value of kindness. And so you can use your values to guide your behavior. So, for example, if I value creativity, how might I use my value of creativity to help me prepare healthier meals? I might want to try a new recipe. I might want to try a new spice. I might want to, change it up a little bit. If I'm someone who values relationship, can I use my desire to make healthier choices to live in alignment with my value of relationship by having family meals?
Okay, so this is where it sounds like weight loss doesn't have to suck.
No, it doesn't have to suck.
It can actually be like really fun and really creative and really exciting and really growth oriented, right? Like there's so many things that it can be versus I just have to be in a calorie deficit. I have to go to the gym 2 hours a day. And I have to be starving in order to get the results.
So here's the thing about weight loss too. Like we often hear, like you got to cut 500 calories, right? If you want to lose weight. But the research shows that even cutting back 300 calories a day is enough to spark some weight loss. So think about what 300 calories is. It's like nothing. A slice of American cheese is like 80 calories. Like a cup of milk is like, skim milk, 80 calories. A cookie could be 200 calories. Like we're not talking about huge amounts of calories here. And so if you were to use your value, for example, of kindness to say, do I want to eat all of this? Is that treating myself kindly, or would having like a reasonable portion be more kind? Probably the more reasonable portion, right? If I value family, if I value relationships, and I'm going to use that to guide my choice, and I'm going to choose to prepare a healthy meal as opposed to like getting pizza where I'm likely to overdo it and eat too much, right? Like just making those decisions, being curious about how it feels to eat certain foods, I'm going to start to naturally eat less. Mm-hmm. And like, there's my calorie deficit right there. And I didn't have to force myself to do anything because like you said, it's moving away from this deficit model to moving towards this like abundance model of like being the type of person that I want to be. And that is so much easier. I never have a problem doing things I want to do. I always struggle with doing things that I feel like I need to, or I should, or I have to. And the last thing that we need, and especially we need as women, is to take on something else that we need to do, or we should do, or we have to do.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
it's scary.
I was going to say, so shifting into that abundance model. So a lot of individuals use fear as a motivator, right? Like I hear all the time, like, I don't want to have diabetes like my dad, or I don't want to be or struggle with my weight like my mom, or right. Like it's very fear-based that we're trying to use fear in order to change ourselves. And anytime the fear is present, again, that thing will never change. But when we shift into that abundance thinking, that abundance model, it really shifts our mindset and allows us to expand into other areas and other possibilities. It makes it more a wide array versus very linear and very like strict regimen aspect of it.
Correct. So if you have a client who comes in and you say, why are you here? And she says, my doctor told me I have to lose weight because I have diabetes, right? Where is her motivation? There's like none, right? Because that's an external motivator. It's fear-based. My doctor's told me I should, or I have to. And if I don't do it, he's going to be disappointed. Now, if you ask yourself, why is managing your diabetes important to you? She might say, well, I want to be healthier and live longer. Okay. What is it about that that's important to you? Well, I want to be around for my kids. Okay. What's important to that for you? Well, when I was growing up, my mom had diabetes and she always had to sit on the sidelines and she couldn't participate in anything with us. And I do not want that for my kids. I want to be the type of mom who participates and who is active and fun, who is part of my kids' lives. Now we've just taken her from this external motivator to something that is more deeply meaningful to her. And so we got to help people connect with those things. And so if the client comes in and says, I want to lose weight, well, what is it about being in a smaller body that's important to you? And we got to keep digging and keep digging and keep digging and find that thing. And you know what? Sometimes they might realize, I actually don't care. I just feel like I should because society is telling me I should. And I can tell you, I've had clients that has happened to before. And you know what I say? My work here is done. Thank you so much for coming. If in the future I can be of any help to you, please call me back. Yeah. And I have had people 2 years later call me back and say, you know, I want to think about making some change. Yeah. But they have to have a motivator. And so if people are struggling, maybe the real issue is that they don't really want to change.
Yes.
And that's okay.
That's okay. And yes, it's okay to say that, right? Like just because someone told you have to do it, or just because you think you should look this certain way and you have yet to make a change for it, that's where we want to get curious of like, well, maybe it's not coming from you. What do you want to do? And give them permission to say, it's okay to not change.
Totally.
And it's interesting though, because when you give that permission, a lot of times individuals will say, well, what are we talking about now here? And then it opened, I don't know what happens, honestly, but as soon as I give that permission of it's okay, you don't have to change. It's not hurting my feelings whatsoever. I'm just wanting to make sure that I support you in living your best life, whatever that looks like for you. Then it's like light bulb.
Totally. Yeah. Because it's not about us. It's not about me. Yeah. My client is never going to disappoint me. I'm not going to think more highly of a client because they did better. It's about them and what I can do to help them. And the permission thing is really interesting, especially like also when it comes to like what we choose to eat. Mm-hmm. I had this client who would frequently go to McDonald's for her kids because after dinner, after sports, they just like needed something quick. And so she would go to get the McDonald's for the kids and she would be like snacking on the fries, like as she was bringing the food home. And she had like a lot of guilt and shame about this, about the French fries. And so like after a couple of weeks of working together, we got to the point where like she wanted to be more intentional with her meal planning. And so I said to her, I would like you to include French fries in your plan. And like a week or so later, she comes back and she's like, you know what I realized? I don't even really like those fries. Right. And like this whole time she'd been struggling with like, I need to stop doing this because it's not healthy. And now I feel bad because I'm not doing it. And as soon as I said, like, I would like you to include the French fries, she realized that she didn't even like the French fries. Yes. There is something about that permission thing.
Yes, because it allows the rebel to quiet down. So I fully believe we all have this rebel in us and we do not like being told what to do. It's like, screw you. I'm a grown ass adult. I'm going to make my own decisions. You don't get to tell me what to do. And so as soon as we don't tell them what to do, it's like, oh, well, now the rebel doesn't have anything to fight against or anything to really push or create force, right? Like, because that's where a lot of times that's the internal resistance, essentially. And now it doesn't have that to go against. And so it's like, okay, well, my job here is done.
So we also rebel against things that we tell ourselves we're going to do. So it's not just rebelling against what other people tell us to do, but we rebel against ourselves.
Why do we do that? Like, I mean, that's a human condition. Why would we rebel against the very thing that we say we want?
Because we have competing commitments. And those competing commitments are very, very powerful motivators to stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of us wants to get up early in the morning and go to the gym before work. And the other part is like, oh, this bed is so comfy. I just want to stay in this bed. Right. And it like creates this rub where we get stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so like competing commitments are totally normal where part of us wants one thing and part of us wants the other thing. And so sometimes that means learning to negotiate with our different parts so we can get everyone on the same page so we can move forward.
Yeah. Oh, I love how you said parts because they really are like to integrate them and align them. And sometimes like we can't do it all at one time. Like it's okay not to change 20 different things in your lifestyle. And in fact, it would be recommended not to do that because that's where it's just becomes so overwhelming. But could we look at one area and remain curious and see how we can start shifting that into something that better aligns with what you say you want?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's another reason why people typically fail, as they will say. It's because they try to change everything at once. Mm-hmm. Like we have a habit of trying to change ourselves instead of just looking at our natural tendencies and trying to figure out like, how can I work with myself to change this one thing? We feel like we have to do everything, right? Like we're not doing any meal planning or meal prepping. And now all of a sudden we think we have to have a whiteboard in the kitchen with every meal for the whole month on there. And then we have to like go grocery shopping and like get the containers and like make all the food. And then we need to like go to the gym 5 days a week and we need to meditate and do yoga in the evenings. And like, that is completely a 180 from what our current situation is. That's never going to work.
You know why I really like this approach, Rebecca, is because it allows people to be human.
Yeah.
Like if and it's almost like in the weight loss space, we would like really demonize people for not getting it done quickly. But if we look at every other area of our life, like change takes time. And in order to really get good at it, we have to put in the reps and we have to put in the reps for a very long period of time. And when it comes to our health, the reality is that if you want to live a healthy life for the remainder of your life, that is something you are committed to for the rest of your life.
Correct.
It's not something you just get to give up on.
Correct. So like when people say, how long does it take to form a habit? I think it was James Clear who says forever, because like once you stop doing it, it's no longer a habit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, it took me like almost 2 years to be a 5 a.m. person. It was just such a, like, there's things that in other areas, like it can take like it's super easy, right? Like there's not as much resistance, but in other areas there might be more resistance. And so I just want to give people the grace and the compassion to figure it out, if you will, but not on a specific timeline because we don't know what that looks like because we don't know what life is going to throw at you either. Like there's so many different things that most people are like have on their plate, literally. And so it allows that, again, that space and that time and that curiosity to come in.
Well, so when you think about sustainable change, it's all about consistency. And so one of the things I also talk to people about, and maybe I mentioned this last time, was striving for the B instead of the A. Mm-hmm. Right. So like on a regular old Tuesday where like life is easy and there's not a lot going on, like I might be able to, put in time at the gym and I might be able to like prepare an amazing meal, but like life is rarely like that. And so consistency does not mean rigidity. Consistency means being able to be flexible. And so oftentimes where people shoot themselves in the foot is they feel like I have to do it this way every day.
Yeah.
And that does not work. So if it's, I'm trying to move my body 30 or 60 minutes on a good day, maybe that means I can go to the gym before work for 60 minutes. But on other days, maybe that means I took a walk for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. And like, that was it. And that acts as like the bridge to get me to the next day where like maybe I do have more time and energy, but we have to be flexible if we're going to be consistent.
Yeah. And so that, so where my mind went as soon as you said that was you also have to make it okay to say this is good enough. So often it's like, well, I just did 10 minutes or I just had a good breakfast or I just, right? Like, and as soon as I hear the just, I'm like, you're not giving yourself credit for anything. And you're totally negating what you actually did do. And so I will work with women to say, you get to define what is enough, which is also very powerful because most women come from the perspective of anything I do never feels good enough.
Right. Like, because we're always striving, we're measuring success against the A.
Yes. And against someone else's A too, not even your own A. Like it's always the comparison is like, who the freaks, like,
Yeah.
how did that even come into the equation? Like that's not even your life. You don't even have those kids, like
Correct.
who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, like for them to put blinders on and focus in on your own shit, right? Like versus everyone else's. And then to be able to say that was good enough for you.
Yeah. So helping people define, like, what does the A look like for you? What does the B look like for you? What does the C look like for you? Because over the course of the week, if we can get a mix of A's and B's and C's, like we're probably averaging a B or a B minus.
You're doing
right.
Yeah.
If we're always striving for the A, but we can't hit that and we end up with F's half the time, now we're getting a C and we're actually doing worse. So we would be better off to have a little flexibility and strive for the B than striving for the A.
Yeah. And I want to encourage individuals that even if you've had some long streaks of C's, still connect and get support, because a lot of individuals will say, well, I didn't do anything and I didn't want to disappoint you and I didn't want to waste your time. And so I just, I rescheduled or I canceled or whatnot. And I always say that is the moment where we need to connect, because that is the moment where you need support. Like, it's not like connecting with the coach is not about just connecting and be like, oh, I did good. I did good. I did good. It's like,
right.
That's great. And we certainly want to celebrate that. And coaching, the space that's created is for what I call the valley of despair, right? Like we're working through, like, this is actually part of the emotional cycle of change. We're working through those moments so you don't keep starting and stopping. We want to work through that low point, if you will, and get you the support and the understanding to continue to push through and move it forward. But a lot of times that's when a lot of people will say like, oh, I just didn't want to disappoint, or I know I didn't do anything. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's talk about it.
So a great strategy for that is helping people adopt an attitude of practice. Because when you practice, there's no expectation of outcome. When you go to, softball practice as a kid or whatnot, you're there to learn, to try out some skills, to build mastery over the skill. You don't fail practice.
Yeah.
And so when we can adopt an attitude of practice, when it comes to working towards new habits, it can be so helpful, because working towards new habits is like taking the training wheels off the bike. It's hard at first. It's not going to be perfect. You've not done it before. You have to sort of figure it out. You're going to fall off, but then you get back on. But if you can adopt an attitude of practice and put on your hat of curiosity and look at, okay, I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to see how it works. How might I need to course correct? So easy example. I had a client tell me this week that she was going to go to the grocery store this weekend and plan 4 dinners for the week. Great. Good goal, right? So something might come up and maybe she only got 3, right? And what she's doing is adopting this attitude of practice. So she's going to try different things. Like maybe she'll prepare the vegetable in the morning, so it's like halfway ready. Maybe she's going to like come home and like fully start the prep at night after work. And she's just trying out different things to see what works. And over time, she's going to figure out what's going to work for her. So it's not that she failed. It's just she hasn't figured out the right thing yet. So the attitude of practice can take so much pressure off of us.
Yeah.
And I think as coaches, we can help people learn to tap into their strengths to gain momentum.
Yeah. Well, and that connects to like the relationship with food and, the relationship with ourselves. Is a lot of times we have the skills that we give to other people. And in this journey, you're starting to give it to yourself. And that's where the skill set shifts. Is you have the base of the skill because you're giving it to other people, but now we're starting to turn it towards you, which that skill might need to be practiced if you had a long history of not doing those things.
Or looking at what are your strengths in your professional life? How do you organize yourself at work? What are some of the strengths that you bring to your work? And how might you implement those things in your personal life to help you move forward? Because we often think of those things very differently.
Yeah. Have you heard that coaching saying, and I almost always get it wrong, but it's like, you already have everything you need to have everything you've ever wanted. That's the saying.
Pretty close to 8. I don't know if it's that exactly, but yes, it's true. And as coaches, that's what we do. That's our gift, is to help to bring that out in people, because it's often buried deep inside there. And we have a lot of guilt, we have a lot of shame, we have a lot of internalized false beliefs that we've taken on. We're like living this idea of a life that that's not authentic. And that's by no fault of our own, but that's just societal messages and family pressures and all of that. And that's where, as coaches, we can help dig that out with people.
Yeah.
And help them move towards their vision.
Okay. So I'm going to use curiosity, and I am curious, what made you lean towards this space of weight loss and not keep to like meal plans or macros? Like, how did you get to this space to support individuals in this way?
Personally, I find people very fascinating. I find human behavior very fascinating. And I'm just very curious about why people do what they do and why they behave like they do. So I've been doing this for 20 years. And the true answer is, when I started, I was very naive to the struggles that people faced. And I would have given meal plans, and I would have prescribed macros. And I learned that does not work, that the people who struggle, it's not because they don't know what to do. And I've had my own challenges too. And so I've had to figure myself out. And so a lot of my own struggles in my life were struggles that were not going to be fixed by implementing some technical solution, that I really had to learn and understand myself. And that's when things really started to change. And that's like what really excites me about this work, because I honestly don't care if my clients lose weight at all. I don't. What I care about is that they are living a life that is true to themselves, and that when I can help alleviate their suffering, they then have the freedom and the capacity to bring their best self to their life. And that, to me, is what it's really all about, because I imagine what the world would be like if every single one of us could show up as our best. But when we're spending all of this mental time and energy beating ourselves up and distracting ourselves with dieting and food, we can't do that. And so that's what it is for me. When I see people really blossom and come alive, like, that is the greatest gift.
Well, that could make me cry. I think what a great gift you are giving to the world through your...
As are you.
So that's so cool. And I think there's so much healing in that is needed for many women. So thank you for continuing to spread that message.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm on the same team for sure.
Yeah, I know. I could talk about this all day long, but I want to be mindful of your time, and just thank you so much for, again, being with us in this space. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.